Evelyn, sign this, and these 50 million will be yours. Forget the past. The man pushed the divorce agreement toward me, his tone colder than I had ever heard. 5 years in prison, I took the blame for the white moonlight in his heart, my family ruined and lives lost. And now he wants me to forget the past? I laughed, took the pen, and under the expectant gazes of him and his white moonlight, tore the agreement to shreds. Adrian, 50 million? Are you dismissing a beggar? What you owe me are 2 lives and your exalted future. 5 years, Evelyn, and your temper is still so foul. Adrian looked at me, brows furrowed, as if gazing at an unreasonable madwoman. Beside him, Celia, the woman for whom he had no qualms about sending his lawful wife to hell, immediately leaned weakly against him, her voice trembling. Adrian, don't argue with her. She's just out, it's normal for her to be in a bad mood. We shouldn't provoke her. What a delicate white lotus. I looked at her pitiful face. 5 years ago, it was this face that tearfully begged Adrian to save her. The price was my brother Devon's life, my father's fatal heart attack, and my 5 years of freedom. My gaze passed over them to the bustling traffic outside the high-end restaurant's window. 5 years, and Beijing had changed so much that I almost didn't recognize it. The only thing unchanged was Adrian. He was still the lofty rising star in the architecture world, dressed in an expensive custom suit, his Patek Philippe watch gleaming coldly under the lights. He thought time could erase everything, that money could buy anything. Bad mood? I sneered, my gaze returning to them. Celia, you killed my brother, angered my father to death, do you think I'm just in a bad mood? Celia's face turned ashen instantly, her body shaking even more violently, tears falling like broken pearls. I didn't mean to. Evelyn, it was just an accident. I really didn't know it would turn out like that. Accident? I slammed the table hard, causing the coffee cups to jump, brown liquid splashing onto the white tablecloth like a pool of dried blood. You switched materials to pocket that material fee, causing the Cloud Summit project to collapse. My brother, a fresh graduate intern, was buried under it for a full 12 hours. And you call this an accident? My voice was hoarse from agitation, each word squeezed from my throat. All eyes in the restaurant turned toward us, pointing and whispering. Adrian's face finally darkened, he pulled Celia behind him and growled at me, Evelyn. Enough. The court already ruled on what happened back then, it was you who embezzled funds in a moment of folly, leading to the tragedy. Ruling? I laughed as if I'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Adrian, as the most famous architect in northern Beijing, can't you tell the difference between inferior cement and high-grade cement? Do you dare say you saw nothing when you inspected the site? His eyes flickered evasively, a subtle change that didn't escape my notice. What about the evidence? The evidence you forged sent me to prison. But don't forget, the Cloud Summit you designed yourself is a stain on your career. Sleeping in your multimillion-dollar mansion every night, don't you dream of those souls you buried alive? Shut up. Adrian was finally enraged, his handsome face twisted in anger. I'm giving you money out of sentiment for our marriage. Don't be ungrateful. Marital sentiment? I slowly stood up, looking down at him. Adrian, from the moment you chose to believe her, forge evidence, and personally send me to prison, all that's left between us is hatred. Let me tell you, I don't want your dirty money. What you owe me, I'll take back bit by bit, with my own hands. With that, I didn't glance at them again and turned to leave. My high heels clicked crisply and resolutely on the polished marble floor. Behind me came Celia's sobs and Adrian's suppressed roar. Stepping out of the restaurant, the cold air rushed in, yet I felt immensely refreshed. During 5 years of prison life, I thought of this day every single day. I thought I would cry, break down, lunge at them like a madwoman and tear them apart. But when the moment arrived, I was extraordinarily calm. Because I knew crying and anger were the most useless things. What I wanted was for them to taste everything I had endured. Penniless and without relatives, I stood on the street, looking at this city that was both familiar and strange, feeling momentarily lost. At that moment, a black Bentley slowly stopped in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing an aged but spirited face. "Girl, get in." I looked at the old man in the car, my eyes welling up. He was Henry, my intergenerational friend from prison. Once a prominent financial auditor, he had been framed and imprisoned for offending someone. It was he who pulled me up when I was most desperate. It was also he who, over 5 years, taught me how to see through people's hearts, track capital flows, and find fatal truths in the most inconspicuous numbers. "Henry." I got in the car, my voice choked. "Why cry? You're out, you should smile." Henry handed me a tissue, then took out a file bag from beside him. "This is your new identity, and a card with 200,000, consider it a loan. From now on, you're called Lynn." I didn't refuse. I knew these were what I needed most now. Adrian's company is now the leader in Beijing, with a market value of hundreds of billions. He himself wins awards endlessly, hailed as the conscience of the architecture world. Henry's tone carried a hint of sarcasm. "Conscience?" I sneered. His heart was eaten by dogs long ago. "Have you thought about what to do?" "Yes." I looked at the rapidly receding streetscape outside the window, my gaze firm. "I want to join HY Group, Adrian's company's biggest competitor." Henry nodded approvingly. "Good, the most dangerous place is the safest. Only by standing close enough to him can you find his Achilles heel. I've arranged it for you. Tomorrow, report to HY Group, your position is cleaner." I was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "Cleaner? Perfect. The humbler the status, the less noticeable. Adrian, Celia, you wouldn't have guessed. I, Evelyn, am back. Not as your ex-wife, but as a cleaner, standing closest to you, watching the empire you built with your own hands crumble inch by inch in mine." The next day, I donned the gray cleaner's uniform and entered HY Group's magnificent building. Joining with me were several older women, who looked at my young, clean face with some surprise. "Lynn, you're so young and pretty, why do this job?" A kind-hearted older woman called Auntie whispered to me. I smiled and recited my prepared story: family hardships, my brother needs to go to school, I have no education, so I can only do manual labor. This was reasonable, and Auntie and the others immediately showed sympathetic looks, offering me more care. The cleaner's job was monotonous and arduous, shuttling between floors every day. But I relished it, because this was the battlefield closest to Adrian. HY and Adrian's JF Design were longtime rivals, fighting tooth and nail for projects. Here, I could hear the most about him. "Heard? JF won the Southern City plot again, Adrian is a god." "Indeed, I heard HY prepared for that project for half a year, still got sniped. Adrian's methods are too tough, fighting him brings no good." Every day, in the pantry, corridors, elevators, I heard similar discussions. Adrian's name loomed like a myth over everyone's heads. And I, just an inconspicuous cleaner, pushed my cart past them silently, piecing together all the information fragments. A week after starting, an opportunity finally came. That afternoon, I was responsible for cleaning the 28th floor conference room. HY's executives had just finished an emergency meeting there, the atmosphere heavy. When I entered, it was empty, only a mess on the table and a strong smell of smoke. As usual, I cleared the paper cups and files. Suddenly, a crumpled draft paper caught my eye. I carefully picked it up and unfolded it. It had rough architectural sketches, with messy numbers and formulas beside them. I couldn't understand the complex terms, but I recognized the numbers. These were financial data. In prison, I studied auditing with Henry for 5 years. His sensitivity to numbers was almost pathological. At a glance, I saw problems in this data. A project's budget couldn't have such bizarre cash flow patterns. My heart pounded. I quickly photographed the draft with my phone, then threw it in the trash bag with other garbage, pretending nothing happened, and continued cleaning. That night, back in my cramped rental, I immediately sent the photos to Henry. Less than 10 minutes later, Henry's call came, his voice excited. "Girl, where did you get this?" "HY's conference room, probably a project they're working on." "Interesting." Henry laughed on the other end. "If I'm not wrong, HY is digging a pit for JF Design. This budget looks seamless on the surface, but they've inflated material costs by at least 30%. The money flows through shell companies into a private pocket." "What are they trying to do?" I pressed. "Simple, bid with a problematic project, deliberately lose to JF. When Adrian takes over and it's halfway done, they expose the financial issues. Then, even with his connections, handling a mess will cost him dearly," Henry explained. My mind raced. A plan formed instantly. "Henry, help me check who in JF Design handles the bid review for this project." "What are you planning?" Henry immediately understood. "Girl, this is too risky. Your identity is sensitive, if exposed. Fortune favors the bold." I interrupted. "Doesn't Adrian like setting traps for others? Then I'll let him taste falling into one." My tone was calm, but only I knew my blood was boiling. Hanging up, I looked at the city's dazzling lights outside the window, feeling for the first time how scorching the flames of revenge were. The next day, I was still the inconspicuous cleaner Lynn. The difference was a small recorder in my pocket. Opportunity came soon. That noon, HY's project manager, a man named Victor, took a call in the pantry. Thinking no one was around, he didn't lower his voice. "Don't worry, Harold. For this project, we're just the bearers. Once JF wins the bid, we'll expose the dirt, and then, Adrian won't even have time to cry. Benefits? Yours won't be short. The money's already in your designated account." Hiding in the corner, I recorded every word. Holding the hot recorder, I felt closer to my goal. At that moment, the person I least wanted to see appeared in HY building, Celia. Dressed exquisitely today, carrying the latest Hermes bag, she entered the elevator surrounded by people. I instinctively lowered my head, pushing the cart to hide. But it was too late. "That cleaner, stop." A sharp female voice rang out. I stopped, slowly turning back. Celia frowned at me, her eyes full of scrutiny and suspicion. "You, lift your head." My heart leaped to my throat. Slowly, very slowly, I lifted my head. The moment our eyes met, I saw Celia's pupils contract sharply. She recognized me. "It's you?" Celia's voice had a barely noticeable tremble, quickly masked by arrogance. She eyed my gray uniform up and down, a scornful smile curling her lips. "Evelyn, 5 years unseen, and you've fallen to cleaning toilets?" The HY executives beside her exchanged glances, clearly confused. I said nothing, just quietly watching her, her well-maintained face full of a victor's gloat. "If Adrian knew how you look now, I wonder what he'd think." Celia deliberately raised her voice, as if pronouncing judgment. "Oh, I forgot, you're no longer Mrs. Adrian. A reform-through labor convict should be grateful for any job, right?" Humiliation. Naked humiliation. My knuckles whitened from gripping the cart handle. But I knew I couldn't erupt here. "I was just a cleaner, Lynn." "Miss, you've mistaken me." I lowered my head, speaking in a humble, timid tone. "Mistaken?" Celia laughed more triumphantly. "I'd recognize you even as ashes. What, after a few years in prison, you don't dare admit your own name?" She advanced step by step, her perfume overwhelmingly pungent. "Let me tell you, Evelyn, don't think just because you're out, you can come back and play tricks. Adrian is my fiancé now, we're getting married soon. You'd better behave, stay far away, or I have ways to send you back in for a few more years." These words were both threat and warning. The surrounding air seemed to freeze. The executive's looks turned from curiosity to contempt and distance. A woman who's been in prison. A woman abandoned by Beijing's most famous man. These labels were enough to keep my head down anywhere. I bit my lip hard, almost drawing blood. At that moment, a cool voice came from the side. Miss Celia, this is HY Group, not your backyard. If you're here for cooperation, go to the conference room. If to pick fights, please leave. I looked toward the voice. A woman in professional attire, with a capable demeanor, approached. She was HY's marketing director, Yara, known for her iron fist and sharp tongue. Celia obviously knew her, her face changing, but she maintained her poise. Director Yara, I'm just catching up with an old friend, nothing else. Is that so? Yara raised an eyebrow, her gaze on me. But it looks to me like Miss Celia is bullying my employee. She came to my side, patted my shoulder, and said to Celia, Lynn is from our logistics department, diligent and responsible. If Miss Celia has complaints, file them with HR, not publicly humiliate her here. Yara's words were resounding, leaving no face for Celia. Celia's face alternated red and white. She didn't expect a department director to disrespect her on HY turf. After all, behind her was Adrian. Fine, very good. Celia trembled with anger. Director Yara, I remember today's words. We'll see. With that, she glared at me fiercely, stomped her heels, and stormed off. The storm subsided temporarily. Onlookers dispersed gradually. Thank you, Director Yara, I said softly. No need. Yara looked at me, her expression complex. You're Evelyn? My heart jolted. How did she know? As if reading my mind, Yara said faintly, 5 years ago, I followed the Cloud Summit collapse case. I never believed a woman who accompanied Adrian from nothing to the industry peak would ruin everything for a mere few million. My eyes reddened instantly. In 5 years, this was the first time someone said I don't believe it. It's all past, I sniffled, forcing calm. It doesn't pass. Yara shook her head. Some things, once happened, never pass. What Adrian owes you, how do you plan to take back? I looked at her, silent. We were strangers, I didn't know why she'd help, or her intent. I'll help you, Yara said suddenly. I was stunned. Why? Because I hate Adrian too. A flash of hatred in Yara's eyes. He snatched several projects from me, got me chewed out by the board. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You understand that? Looking at her candid gaze, my heart wavered. How do you want to help? I know what you're doing, Yara lowered her voice. The Southern City project, you want Adrian to stumble, right? My heart sank sharply. She knew everything. Don't tense, Yara smiled. The draft you picked up in the conference room, I left it deliberately. I was utterly shocked. Why? Because I knew only you could see the tricks inside. Only you have the motive and guts to use it. Yara's gaze burned. I checked you out, know you learned auditing from Henry in prison. Evelyn, you're smarter than I imagined. So, from my first day at HY, I'd been under her surveillance. Was I a pawn or an ally? Why should I trust you? I watched her warily. With this. Yara took a USB drive from her bag and handed it to me. Inside are recordings of HY Project Head Victor and Urban Construction Bureau Deputy Director Harold's calls, plus all evidence of their fund transfers. Enough to send them in, and to ruin Adrian completely after he takes the project. I took the USB, my palm hot. This was exactly what I'd schemed for. Yet she gave it so easily. What do you want? I didn't believe in free lunches. What I want is simple, Yara looked at me, word by word. I want JF Design to vanish from Beijing. I want Adrian with nothing. Her eyes burned with the same flame as mine, revenge. I suddenly understood, between her and Adrian, it was more than business rivalry. Good. I pocketed the USB, meeting her gaze. I agree. Dealing with the devil, what of it? As long as Adrian and Celia paid, I'd gamble everything. Pleasant cooperation. Yara extended her hand. I shook it. 2 hands, equally cold and burning with hatred, gripped tightly. A massive net targeting Adrian was thus spread. And he, unaware, still immersed in his dream of marrying his white moonlight and reaching life's peak. Adrian, your good days are over. Celia's appearance was like a pebble in a lake, no huge waves, but it made my situation settle. The next day at work, I clearly felt colleagues' looks change: contempt, distance, a hint of schadenfreude. Auntie pulled me aside, whispering, "Lynn, I think you should change jobs. That Miss Celia looks hard to provoke. You can't fight her." I smiled. "Auntie, thank you. I have measure." Measure? My measure was, either don't fight, or fight to kill them all at once. I anonymously mailed Yara's USB to Beijing's most famous finance media. The editor, contacted through Henry, was known for sharp reporting and digging scandals, a tough character. After this, I pushed my cart as usual, shuttling through HY building. Before a storm, it's always especially calm. Adrian and JF Design were holding a victory banquet for winning the Southern City project. All of Beijing's high society was invited. Reportedly, Adrian would announce his wedding date with Celia. Truly triumphant. From the newspaper's entertainment section, I saw their intimate photo: Adrian strikingly handsome, Celia smiling like a flower, a match made in heaven. The background was their soon-to-move-in hillside villa, Adrian's proud work. While I lived in a 10-square-meter rental with no sunlight. I crumpled the paper fiercely and threw it in the trash. "Don't rush, Evelyn. Soon, very soon." 3 days later, the news exploded. Shocking insider. HY Group executives collude with officials to trap competitors. A in-depth report, like a blockbuster bomb, rocked Beijing's business world. The report detailed Victor and Deputy Harold's power money deals, with clear recordings and bank flow screenshots. The spearhead pointed at HY for unscrupulous means to strike rivals. But more notable was the victim competitor, JF Design. Public opinion erupted. HY stock hit limit down at open, evaporating tens of billions in a day. JF became the biggest victim and object of sympathy. Adrian held a press conference immediately, expressing shock and sorrow at such vile tactics in business competition, reserving the right to pursue HY legally. Under the spotlights, he spoke righteously, like a knight of justice. Everyone thought HY was done, Adrian the winner again. Only I knew this was just the start. The real bomb hadn't detonated. In HY Group's CEO office, Yara watched Adrian's performance on TV, sneered, and turned it off. "Great acting, pity not to win an Oscar." I thumbs-upped her. Director Yara's strategy is brilliant. A self-injury ploy fooled everyone. Yes, all this was Yara's plan. She deliberately leaked damaging evidence against herself, proactively exploding it, putting herself and HY on the fire. Hurt enemy 1000, self 800. No, she was using HY's ship to sink Adrian's carrier. Victor and Harold are under control. Yara lit a cigarette, expression inscrutable. Now, everyone believes the Southern City project is clean. Adrian got a bargain. He'll soon know how hot this bargain is, I interjected. Yara gave media only part of the evidence, hiding the key: the project's huge financial loopholes and safety hazards. Now, amid sympathy and praise, Adrian happily took this time bomb. He thought himself the Oriole, unaware we were the final hunters. What next? I asked Yara. Wait, Yara exhaled a smoke ring. Wait for him to start, invest heavily in funds and manpower, until he can't withdraw, then send him a big gift. I understood. She wanted not just a stumble, but eternal doom. This woman was ruthless beyond my imagination. Meanwhile, Adrian's office was jubilant. "Adrian, heaven helps. Didn't expect HY so stupid, handing us the handle. Yes, Southern City project is ours. Once completed, our market value doubles at least." Subordinates' flattery endless. Adrian sat in his boss chair, a smug smile on his lips. But inexplicably, he felt uneasy. He thought of Evelyn. That woman's resolute look in the restaurant pierced his heart like a thorn. Celia said she saw her at HY, as a cleaner. He sent people to check, but was told the cleaner Lynn, unable to bear Celia's humiliation, had quit. In the vast sea of people, she vanished like a drop of water. This made him more irritable. He'd prefer Evelyn crying and raging than this calm. Calm meant she had moves left. "Adrian, what are you thinking?" Celia entered, hugging him from behind. "The banquet's ready, everyone's waiting." "Nothing." Adrian retracted his thoughts, holding her hand. "Celia, do you think Evelyn might do something?" "Her?" Celia sneered. "A fresh ex-con, no money or power, what can she do?" "Adrian, you're overthinking. She's probably crying in some corner." "Forget her, today is our great day." Adrian was convinced. Yes, what waves could one Evelyn make? He stood, adjusted his tie, restoring his spirited self. "Let's go to the banquet." He didn't know this would be his last time at the Peak. And Evelyn, watched coldly from the shadows as he stepped toward the abyss I prepared. The banquet was at a luxurious 5-star hotel. Elegant attire, toasts crossing. Adrian, the absolute star, was surrounded, enjoying endless praise. Celia, like a proud peacock, held his arm, accepting envious glances from women. They looked so matching, so happy. Who'd think this happiness was built on my family's bones? I didn't go. Yara gave me a more important task. Adrian thinks he won, but he doesn't know the real war just started. Southern City is a mess, but he has talents. Over time, he might find issues, Yara said on phone. So, before he does, we must create more trouble, divide his attention. What do I need? Remember Cloud Summit? My heart twitched. The name that ruined my family, how could I forget? Cloud Summit's general contractor was HF Construction. Boss Francis, to save himself, perjured, insisting you instructed cutting corners. Yara's voice cold. He's Adrian's diehard. These years, over half JF's projects are his. Their interests long bound. You want to move him? Yes. Francis is dirty-handed. Check him, dig up his messes. I want Adrian's backyard on fire, his trusted arm turning into a knife stabbing himself. Hanging up, I acted immediately. Henry used all connections to get HF's project data and financial reports. Facing the mountain of files, I felt no fear. In 5 years' prison, I dealt most with these cold numbers. I locked myself in the rental for 3 days and nights. Hungry, gnaw bread, tired, drink instant coffee. Like the most obsessive hunter, seeking prey in the numerical jungle. Finally, on the 4th dawn, I found it. An affordable housing project called East Lakeview Garden, contracted by HF 3 years ago, a government project. On books, all normal, even low profit as livelihood project. Francis was awarded conscience entrepreneur. But intuition said problem here. I isolated this project's cash flow, using Henry's stripping method to analyze layers. Soon, found an $80 million engineering loss fee. An affordable housing project with such high loss? The money layered through dozen shell companies, finally into an overseas account. The holder named Simon. Celia. Simon. I called Henry immediately to check this Simon. Half-hour later, Henry called back, shocked. Girl, you hooked a big fish. Who is Simon? Celia's own brother. My brain buzzed. Celia's brother. So that's it. Celia's greed was family inheritance. Back then, for hundreds of thousands in material fees, she killed my brother. Her brother, bigger appetite, 80 million at once. And from a project building for the poor. Their family was rotten to the core. And Adrian, wouldn't he know? Francis's confidant, such big fund move, he'd be clueless? His so-called conscience, social responsibility, all bullshit. They're a nest of bloodsuckers on the people. I trembled with anger, physiological nausea surging. Girl, calm down, Henry soothed on phone. Now's not time to anger. You have evidence, that's the ace. Thought how to play? I deep breathed, forcing calm. Evidence alone not enough. I wanted it to exert maximum power at the key moment. I wanted everyone to see the ugly face of their adored god of architecture and his kind pure fiancé. I organized all evidence, encrypted, sent to Yara. Then dialed the finance editor. "Hello, Editor Allen? I'm the one who tipped you last time. I have bigger dirt, are you interested?" A week later, JF officially started Southern City Project. At groundbreaking, Adrian spirited, eloquently describing grand blueprint to media. Celia attended as family representative, in white gown, smiling gently, like a holy goddess. At the climax, as Adrian and city leaders shoveled soil. "Wait." A voice abruptly rang through. All stunned, looking toward it. A woman in cap and mask broke through security, ran on stage. With megaphone, "Adrian. Celia. You adulterous pair, return my hard-earned money." Her heart-rending cries spread via megaphone. Sight and uproar. Reporters' flashes went wild. Adrian's face blackened instantly. Celia paled, hiding behind him. "Security. Pull this madwoman down." The site manager shouted hoarsely. Security rushed up to subdue her. But too late. She pulled out stacks of documents, scattering them skyward. Countless A4 sheets fluttered like snowflakes. Reporters below grabbed madly. Seeing the content, all gasped. It was East Lakeview Garden internal accounts, detailed 80 million flow chart. Recipient Simon circled in red. Attached Simon and Celia's family photo. Relation obvious. See clearly. This is the so-called conscience entrepreneur. They take poor people's life-saving money to buy Celia's mansions, jewelry. My house became dilapidated in less than 3 years. When we reasoned, they sent people to beat us. Where's justice? The woman accused tearfully. Below, more unrest. They were East Lakeview Garden owners. I organized them through Editor Allen. Today, they came for justice. Adrian's face was extremely ugly. He never thought a perfect ceremony would turn into a denunciation. Even less that 3-year seamless deed would be uncovered. His gaze like swords searched the crowd. Looking for me. He knew I did this. And I stood in the least noticeable corner, masked, coldly watching the flustered man on stage. "Adrian, this is just appetizer. Everything you inflicted on me, I'll return 100-fold, 1,000-fold. The game just started." East Lakeview Garden scandal like Category 12 hurricane swept Beijing instantly. Opinion exploded. From praised god of architecture to colluding, embezzling black-hearted merchant, Adrian's image plummeted. JF stock crashed, countless partners sent termination letters, banks demanded loans. His built empire teetered overnight. Francis and Simon soon investigated. Celia thrust into spotlight. Viper siblings, most poisonous white moonlight curses overwhelming. She dared not go out or online, hiding in villa, washing face with tears. As glorious before, as wretched now. Watching their harried news appearances, my heart unmoved. Not enough. Far from. This pain, compared to mine, a drop in the bucket. Well done. Yara's phone voice smiling. Adrian's overwhelmed, no energy for Southern Project. Our chance. How? Southern Project's constructor, old company following Adrian years. I checked, boss has fatal weakness, gambling. Yara's voice calculating. I've set the trap, waiting for him to fall. Make him lose project funds? More. Yara sneered. I want him to lose the whole project. I understood, remove the firewood from under the cauldron. Turn the Southern Project, with Adrian's huge investment, into a true unsalvageable unfinished mess. Then, capital chain breaks, banks press debt, partners turn, Adrian doomed. Plan vicious, but effective. What do I do? Nothing. Just watch. Yara said. This is my second big gift to you. Next half-month, Adrian's day's extremely hard. He ran around, begging, to salvage. But when wall falls, all push. Former flatterers avoided him. First taste of worldly fickleness. And Celia, the woman he once protected at all costs, now gave no support, becoming his biggest burden. She only cried daily, complained, questioned why he couldn't fix everything like before. Adrian, think of something. My brother can't go to jail. Our Sioux family can't fall. Aren't you Beijing's famous Adrian? Why can't you solve this little thing? It's all that bitch Evelyn. Must be her. Why not catch her? Facing Celia's tantrums, Adrian first felt annoyance and fatigue. He began missing when Evelyn was by his side. Then, no matter the difficulty, she'd stand firm, say, "Don't fear, I'm here." She'd analyze problems, advise, silently manage everything. She was the one unwavering in poverty or wealth. But he pushed her away himself. To hell. Immense regret flooded him like tides. He frantically searched for me, using all connections, turning Beijing upside down. But I vanished like evaporated. He didn't know I was closest, coldly observing all. That day, in Yara's office discussing next steps. Her secretary knocked panicked. "Yara, bad. Adrian, he's here." Yara and I exchanged surprised glances. "How did he find here?" "Let him in." Yara quickly composed. Minutes later, door pushed open. Adrian entered. Half-month unseen, much haggard, heavy dark circles, blue stubble. But stood straight, like a lone pine near breaking. His gaze swept the office, finally fixing on me. That instant, his eyes burst with shock, anger, pain, and a inexplicable ecstasy. "Evelyn!" he hoarsely called, stepping toward me. "It's really you. You are here." I didn't move, just calmly watched. "Adrian, long time no see." This Adrian stiffened him, his eyes light dimming instantly. "Why do this?" He stared deadly, like a wounded beast. "Do you hate me so much? Hate to destroy everything?" I laughed. "Adrian, funny words. Me, fresh ex-con, nothing, what ability to destroy famous you?" I spread hands innocently. "As for those things, aren't they media reported? Collusion, shoddy projects, aren't they what you and partners did yourselves?" "You." Adrian choked speechless, face flushed. He knew they were true. But didn't believe I alone could unearth old accounts. His gaze turned to Yara, sharpening. "It's you, right? You've been helping her." Yara rose elegantly, came to me, linked arms, smiled slightly at Adrian. "Adrian, food can be eaten messily, but words can't be spoken carelessly. I just saw Miss Lynn smart, so hired a special assistant. As for JF's troubles, aren't they self-inflicted?" "Special assistant?" Adrian sneered. "Yara, don't take me for fool. You two women teamed, played me around. What do you want?" "What I want, didn't you know long ago?" Yara's smile cooled. "Adrian, I told you, what you snatched, I'll make you return double." Adrian's pupils shrank. He seemed to recall, face unusually ugly. "So, it was you," he murmured, eyes incredulous. "Remember now?" Too late. Yara's eyes unmasked hatred. "I've waited 10 whole years for this." 10 years? My heart stirred, their grudge deeper than imagined. "So, you called me today to see my joke?" Adrian laughed miserably, gazed back on me. "Evelyn, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have, for Celia." "Shut up." I sharply interrupted. "Don't mention that woman's name before me, it's dirty." "Fine, no mention," Adrian quickly said, tone ingratiating and humble. "Evelyn, come back? Let's restart. I swear, I'll treat you well, compensate everything." "Compensate?" I laughed like the funniest joke. "With what? My brother's life?" My father's? My 5 years of dark prison? My questions like daggers stabbed his heart. His face paled inch by inch. Adrian, put away your cheap affection. I'm here today not to hear repentance or reminisce. I approached, staring into his pained eyes, word by word, I'm here to take back what's mine. And send you to hell. My words like ice water extinguished his last hope. He staggered back 2 steps, leaned on wall, eyes vacant, as if drained. Hell, hee, aren't I already in it? He self-mocked laughed, voice hoarse. Evelyn, you won. You really, destroyed me. Not enough, I coldly watched. This is just the beginning. What more? He lifted head, eyes bloodshot. Companies falling, reputation ruined, Sioux family done. What more? Must I die to satisfy? Die? I shook head. Too easy. I want you alive, well alive. Watching your pride turn to ashes. Watching those you protect betray you. Spend your life in endless regret and pain. These words so cruel. But saying them, I felt immense satisfaction. Adrian closed eyes, painfully leaned, body trembling slightly. Long after, he opened eyes, looked deeply. Expression complex beyond description, regret, pain, despair, and a never-seen resolve. I understand. He said lowly. Evelyn, take care. Then, without another glance, turned, dragged heavy steps, left the office. Watching his desolate back, my heart had no victory joy, instead empty. He seems off. I frowned. Struck skinless by you, strange if normal. Yara shrugged indifferently. Ignore him, just a defeated. Time for next step. She opened computer, pulled file. Southern constructor boss lost $300 million in Macau, mortgaged project funds and company. Now, project fully stopped. Banks investigators enter JF tomorrow, liquidate assets. Adrian, thoroughly done. All under Yara's control. Adrian's empire at end. But my unease grew stronger. Adrian's last look lingered in mind. Not like defeated, more like a condemned heading to execution. Next day, more explosive news rocked city. JF President Adrian press conference, real name reports wife Celia, 5 years cloud summit collapse has other true culprit. Seeing title, I was dumbfounded. Adrian mad? He wants to self-destruct? I rushed down, grabbed a newspaper. Front page, Adrian at conference photo, in black suit, solemn and resolute. Below, speech excerpts. 5 years ago, cloud summit collapse not accident, nor court ruled my ex-wife Evelyn's embezzlement. True culprit is my current wife, Celia. She, for profit, colluded with suppliers, replaced high-grade cement with inferior, causing structural safety issues. And I, for selfish love, sheltered her, forged evidence, sent innocent Evelyn to prison. Today, I'm here not for sympathy or shirking. I just want to return truth to public, innocence to the woman I hurt most. I have full recordings of Celia admitting guilt back then. Now, I make them public. Newspaper slipped from hand. My brain blank. Recordings, he had them. From start, he left a backhand. Why, now? He wants mutual destruction with Celia. I rushed out kiosk madly, hailed taxi. To JF building. Fast. On way, heart pounded to explode. I didn't know why find him. Question? Or, stop? I didn't know. Mind mess. When taxi arrived JF, below full of reporters and police cars. I pushed door, rushed in regardless. Move. Let me in. Blocked by security and police outside. Then, top floor rooftop, a figure appeared. Adrian. Standing on edge, wind blowing empty clothes, as if to blow off any time. All exclaimed. Reporters' flashes flashed madly. Adrian. Come. Don't do stupid. Police below shouted via megaphone. But he ignored. His gaze pierced crowd, time-space, accurately on me. Our gazes met in air. I saw lips move. I read, sorry. Then, he spread arms, like tired bird, leaned back. No. I screamed piercingly, vision black, lost consciousness. I woke again on hospital bed. Pungent disinfectant filled nostrils. Yara at bedside, relieved seeing me awake. Finally awake, scared me. How? I struggled up, voice hoarsely unlike mine. Yara held me, shook head. Fell. On spot, gone. My heart gripped by invisible hand, pained breathless. Dead. Adrian just died. In most tragic way, ended life, and our love-hate entanglements. Why? Why this? I wanted ruin, taste pain. Not death. Tears surged uncontrollably. I covered face, sobbed. These tears for dead brother and father, 5 innocent prison years, or, the man I once loved deeply, pushed to abyss by my hands? I couldn't say. Heart-tangled mess. Don't cry. Yara handed tissue, softly. His choice. With death, exchanged your innocence, completed self-judgment. Yes. With death, returned all. But such innocence, I'd rather not. Next days, I was dazed. Adrian's death and pre-death self-exposure caused huge waves in Beijing. Celia arrested soon. Before iron evidence, she confessed. Awaiting her, law severe punishment. Su family thoroughly fell. JF declared bankruptcy liquidation. All as wished. I won completely. But why no happiness? I received court summons for vindicating 5-year wrongful case. I went to hearing. Judge declared innocent, restored all reputation. Leaving court, sunshine perfect. On steps, watching people, like another world. All ended. Yara picked me. Congrats, Evelyn. You're free. I looked at her, softly asked, what grudge between you and Adrian? Yara silent moment, then slowly, I had a sister, 10 years ago, also architect, talented. She and Adrian same graduates, strongest competitors. That year, important international design contest, both finalists. All thought champion between my sister and Adrian. But day before final, my sister's draft stolen. Next day, Adrian presented winning work on stage. And that work, 70% similar to my sister's stolen draft. My sister collapsed on site, confronted Adrian, but he denied. Said she jealous, slandering him. No evidence, matter dropped. Adrian, famed with that award, rose fast. My sister, unable to accept, got severe depression, suicided next year. Yara spoke calmly, but I saw deep hidden immense grief in eyes. I was shocked. Never thought behind Adrian's glossy resume hid such dirty past. So, you joined HY, climbed step by step, to avenge your sister? Yes. Yara nodded. Waited 10 years, finally this chance. Make him taste being pushed from peak to abyss. Then he deserved it. Yara's tone no sympathy. His today all self-reaped. What he owed my sister, repaid with life, bargained for him. I silent. So, we both bore hatred. In our ways, seeking justice from unfair world. But when dust settles, justice reclaimed, what's left? Liberation, or deeper void? After vindication, I got state compensation. Not much, but enough for new life. First thing, went to cemetery. Bought Dad and brother's favorite white chrysanthemums, to their tombstones. Dad, Devon, I'm back. Placed flowers, knelt before stones, gently brushed dust. Sorry, made you wait long. Wrongful case vindicated, killers punished. You can rest. I chattered to them about prison life after release. Finally, couldn't hold, cried. Dad, Devon, I miss you so. Wind through cemetery, pines rustled, like responding. I stayed whole afternoon. Until sunset, rose to leave. Exiting gate, saw someone nearby. Henry. Leaning on cane, quietly watching. Girl. Henry, why here? I approached. To see you. He patted shoulder. All past. Live well after. I nodded. Plans? I want, leave Beijing. This city bore too much pain, memories. Want new place, restart. Good. Henry understood. Go south, warmer. Old friend in town open bookstore, needs help. If willing, go there. Bookstore? Yes. Quiet, stable days. I was moved. Perhaps what I need now. Good, I'll go. 3 days later, bid farewell Henry and Yara, took south train. As started, watching receding Beijing, mixed feelings. Goodbye, Adrian. Goodbye, all my love and hate. Town completely different from northern city I grew up in. Bridges, flowing water, white walls, black tiles, air moist and gentle. Henry's friend, kind white-haired elder. His bookstore on quiet old street, named Forget Worries Bookhouse. I became clerk. Daily, organize books, clean, brew tea for customers. Days plain, but fulfilling. I started learning painting, gouache, feeling life's subtle beauties. Smiles on face gradually increased. I thought life would continue peacefully. Until that day, one's appearance disrupted again. Rainy afternoon. Organizing shelves, wind chimes rang. Turned, saw man in trench coat, folding umbrella, enter. Seeing his face, I froze. A face, 70% like Adrian's. But younger looking, milder temperament, slight smile, like misty rain, hazy warm. Hello, do you have books on ancient architecture restoration? He asked, voice nice. I stared blankly, speechless. Miss? Seeing no response, asked again. I snapped back, face hot. Oh, yes. Over here, follow me. Leading him to shelf, heart tumultuous. How, so like Adrian? Coincidence? Thanks. He pulled book, smiled. I'm Anthony, here for ancient architecture surveying. You? Lynn. I subconsciously gave alias. Lynn. He repeated, smile deeper. Nice name. My heart skipped inexplicably. From then, Anthony regular. Almost every afternoon, order tea, window seat, quietly read. Sometimes chat, architecture, history, town customs. I found him erudite, interesting. Chatting made time fly. Gradually, inexplicable fondness for him. But thorn in heart, too like Adrian. I dared not, wanted not, entangle with anything Adrian related. So, deliberately kept distance. Until that day, Uncle Lee back home for a fair, bookstore me alone. Evening closing, circuit shorted, pitch black. I fear dark most. In prison 5 years, confined countless black rooms. That fingerless dark and dead silence, lifetime nightmare. Hugging knees, huddled corner, trembling scared. Near collapse, door pushed open. Flashlight beam shone in. Lynn. Inside? Okay? Anthony's voice. Seeing me, ran over, took off coat, draped on me. Don't fear, I'm here. He held me, gently patted back. His embrace warm, secure. Completely unlike Adrian's. Leaning in, hearing strong heartbeat, tense nerves finally relaxed slowly. That night, he accompanied long. After electrician fixed, sent me home. Before leaving, looked seriously, Lynn, I like you. I know you have issues, dare not trust. But okay, I can wait. Until you open heart to me. My heart struck hard. Antony's confession like pebble in my dead-water heart lake, rippled layers. I admit, moved by him. But afraid. Fear another illusion. Fear like Adrian, give hope then push to abyss himself. Started deliberately avoiding. He comes, I excuse to warehouse. Invite dinner, say unwell. Antony smart, saw avoidance, but didn't force. Just daily came, sat window, with gentle inclusive gaze, quietly watched me. Such days lasted month. Inner conflict. One side, crave love and be loved, warm companionship. Other, past pain like invisible shackles, trapped me. Until that day, Yara suddenly came to town. Found me watering windowsill flowers. Days quite leisurely. She leaned on doorframe, smiling. Why here? I surprised. To see you. Entered, surveyed elegant store. Also tell you something. What? Celia suicided in prison. My watering hand paused. Is that so? Tone calm, no ripple. For that woman, no feelings left. Her life or death, irrelevant. One more. Yara looked, expression complex. About. Antony. My heart leaped. What about him? Aren't you curious why so like Adrian? Why? Because he's Adrian's own brother. Yara's words like thunderbolt, exploded overhead. Adrian's brother? How possible? Half-brothers. Antony's mother, Adrian father's first love. Forced apart by family opposition. Later married separately. Until years ago, Adrian's father on deathbed told him, asked care for this brother. So, Antony approaching me, your plan? Use him to revenge Lou family? I looked Yara, voice cold. No. Yara shook head. Admit, initially investigated him as another pawn against Adrian. But found he and brother completely different types. He's kind, upright, talented, with principles. Long knew Adrian's dirty deeds, ashamed, early drew line with Lou family, struggled alone outside. He came here not my arrangement. He doesn't even know your past. Just, purely attracted to you. My brain chaotic. Antony, Adrian's brother. Fact unacceptable. I barely escaped that vortex, why fate pull me back this way? Evelyn, I know cruel for you. Yara held hand. But Antony innocent. Shouldn't deny him because Adrian. Give him chance, yourself too, okay? After Yara left, I sat long alone in store. Looking out, rain started again, pattering like my mood. Evening, Antony came again. As usual, folded umbrella, smiled. Raining, afraid you're scared alone. Looking at his face similar yet different from Adrian, eyes hot. Antony. Called name. You, knew who I am long ago? Antony's smile stiffened. Silent moment, nodded. Yes. When? Before you came to town. He looked, eyes apologetic. Sorry, not deliberate hide. Just, afraid if new, unwilling see me. My brother, did many wrongs. Hurt he caused you, I can't repay. Just hope my presence no more trouble. So, he knew all. My past, pain, fear. But didn't expose, just silently guarded, his way warming my cold heart bit by bit. Then why, approach? I choked. Because first saw you in news, attracted. Antony approached, gently wiped tears. Saw you at court door, so thin yet strong. Thought, what girl has such energy? Later, learned all your experiences. Pained for you, admired. Want protect, let you know more hardship. Evelyn, I love you. Irrelevant to my background, your past. I love just you. His words like warm current, instantly melted all ice and heart. No longer control emotions, threw into embrace, cried loudly. Cried out all year's grievances, pains, repressions. Antony held tight, repeated in ear, don't fear, I'm here. From now, I'm here. Didn't know how long cried. Cried till exhausted, slept. Woke, found in store second floor restroom. Anthony guarded bedside, holding hand. Seeing awake, gentle smile. Awake? Hungry? Cooked porridge. Looking at him, heart unprecedented calm. Past, let pass. Adrian's debt, repaid with life. And I should walk out hatred's cage. Lifelong. Shouldn't punish self for past people, things. I smiled, held his hand back. Anthony. Let's be together. Anthony stunned, then huge joy surged face. Nodded hard, hugged tight. Good. Outside, rain cleared. Brilliant rainbow hung horizon. I knew, my life finally welcomed true sunny day.